Okay, so we're kind of gonna go straight into some winter-related stuff. Because Skyhawk is ready to go in terms of releasing this Nexus. So, do you guys think I should do like it in backwards order or something? Be like third, second, first, or what? You saw the results, right?
Yeah. Uh,
You didn't?
I
What?
haven't looked. I haven't looked.
You guys both don't know the results?
No,
I
I'm
looked
looking at it
yes.
now.
I looked yesterday.
I think last to first makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you
Okay.
have a drum roll on a soundboard?
I do not have a soundboard,
Oh,
but
maybe next
you
time.
guys can add it in chat if you like. Imagine. That's interesting.
Ah, Twinkie wants the Nexus first as well.
Alright, well, Nexus is the primary category, so should we do that first or second? I don't know.
Why don't we do the individual levels first, in case
You
I'm
think?
a part of Nexus? Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
But what if we stall
what's the
more and
big
make them
one?
feel nervous?
I mean, you can do that if you want. I mean, I want to make everybody as nervous as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. Depends.
I was telling Twinkie I was cheating for him, and he was freaking out. Wait, I need access?
Um.
That's a drive.
So, it's gonna look a little not as exciting on stream because I'm not gonna show the stuff immediately. Skyhawk's just gonna give us a Nexus and then we're just gonna update it, and then that's gonna happen. So I'm basically gonna say it, and then Skyhawk has the go ahead to publish. You guys, if you're daring, you can go to Dustmod about, and then keep downloading in the hopes that you finally download the right version when Skyhawk does do it. But if you don't know, it's gonna be in the community Nexus where the CMRs are, because we don't have the update to the event Nexus yet. Fun fact. I have a DM. I'm ignoring that. Alright. So. Levels. Do you want to hear the... I don't really want to say all 10 in a row, I guess, but I could. You guys want to do that?
All 10 in a row, you said?
Yeah. Do you want them in
Oh, why not?
10 to 1?
Why
Okay.
not?
Sure.
Alright. Here we go. So, again, the scoring. This will make more sense when you see it, but it's out of 35 per judge. There are 5 judges. The judges were the 3 of us plus Camel and Miles. Camel is apparently on his way to Discord right now. He says. Miles is unavailable today, so it's gonna be the 4 of us. We got cool stuff that we all played and talked about. We're gonna talk about more. So here we go. 10th place, we have Chirality. I think that's how you say it, by Naglaria, with a 54.5. 9th place, we have Magma Run by Avenged Ruler with 97.5. I am going to go through this kind of quickly, so feel free to hit that update button, Skyhawk, pretty soon. 8th place, Corrosive Temple by Zyke, 108. 7th place, Rotten Tower by This Is Not Jake, 112.5. Miles used some 0.5s in judging, which I honestly don't agree with. We should have expanded it if you wanted more, but surprise, surprise, we got some decimals now. 6th place, we have Anachronism by HDT, 113.5, 1 point above Not Jake. That was a close one. 5th place, we have Peace of Mind by Uckies, 131.5. I'm gonna have all of these for everybody, by the way. I have a big announcement about to post after I go through all these. In fourth place, we have Fairy Glen by Dellatrix, 143. These top four do have a little bit of a separation compared to the bottom six, I guess. Now we get into the money. The big dollars. Third place, Downpour by C, 147, pretty close. 2 remaining.
Very exciting.
I'm getting angry DMs, I guess, as we speak. They just keep coming. Where'd he go? And now, we actually have a tie for first place. It's the last two maps. Gels by Epon 155 and Ragwood by Twinkie SWF 155. It was actually tied in the end. Funny how that works out.
Am I okay to post a screenshot of the
Whoa.
individual level scores
Whoa.
into the chat?
Whoa. Twinkie, the 2-time back-to-back champ, but doesn't really defend the title that well because he has to share it. Epon closing the gap. 2 points off last year, 0 points off this year. What will it be next year? No tiebreaker, but if you guys want to do it out, do a ramen to fight it out, go right ahead. Alright, let's go into the Nexuses.
Now, here's the link for people who...
I'm gonna post the full link when I go through the Nexuses. I have a big thing with both of them included. You guys should already have access, honestly.
Yeah.
Alright, so for Nexuses, this was out of 55. There were 2 extra categories that were worth 10 each. Again, you'll see the details when they're posted. In 5th place, we have One Direction by Naglaria. It was scoring a 100 even. In 4th place, PRNG Nexus by Avenged Ruler and Holy Cow 175. Pretty close with Acid Nexus by Zyke, 3rd place, 191.5. And then we got a clear top 2. Thanks to judging. Now, this time it is not a tie, but it is actually a difference of 1 point. Even closer than 2 points. I'm really surprised it was 1 point off in the end. It could have been 2 ties, that would have been hilarious. So in 2nd place, we have Scion's Dream by Epon, 237. Which means 1st place is Toxic Runoff by Dello and C, 238. Time to copy paste some stuff in Discord. I hope you enjoyed the drum roll. I'm really surprised you guys didn't know. You didn't even look.
Well, I looked a little while ago.
Okay. Alright, I guess I'll tag everyone. Everyone announcing some winners. Blah 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 blah. And this includes the dollar amounts. I have no idea if any of these people are even gonna care about US dollars. So that should be interesting for Miles to handle. Miles will be handling the money. The scoring sheet is included. I am about to tag 700 plus people, so that's a great thing as always to see. Now I'm gonna post something in addition to this, just a little extra bonus. Here's the full results sheet on this monitor now. It might be kind of hard to read, but deal with it for a moment. I got a cool data tag. You can read all of our comments, see how we scored. Data has the numbers. Congrats to winners. A lot of the maps were great, and they showed their hard work and all this other stuff. Happy, fun times.
Big
Skyhawk's gonna have that
congratulations.
stuff open, hopefully, because I posted it, that it is. Everybody up to date. Bonus announcement has been posted. We're gonna have map making spotlight episodes for as many competition people as we can over a few weeks. So every Sunday, starting tomorrow, coincidentally, which we happen to have, Twinkie and Epon ended up being the two that picked tomorrow. We're gonna have the individual winners, and Epon to talk about his Nexus. They're probably gonna be a little bit longer, I would imagine. So we're gonna separate them a little bit better. I put a tentative schedule, but yeah, every Sunday we got a bunch of stuff. Very exciting Nexus music to listen to in the meantime. Did I see that Skyhawk made a live? Yeah, he did. So I'm gonna do that also about download. I hope it works for dev version also. I was using that for a randomizer. Did you guys download? We're gonna go through the maps in the Nexus. The Nexus was created by Epon. So funnily enough, he ended up learning. Oh my god, they're 2 and 1. Which one's it gonna be? Okay, it's the correct one. So just about everybody actually did a lot of updates to all the maps. So we saw all of the maps. Oh no, I think this is a dev issue. I used back Nexus.
Yeah, back Nexus works for me.
It's set to dust mod. Is it? I mean, I see the back Nexus. Skyhawk might have fixed it. Anyway, many people actually updated their maps, which is really cool based on the judge feedback and more playtesting. There are a lot of updates that went on in maps that addressed some of our issues, like dust spread here and there, a little polish. I heard there were some secrets that actually got added too. What was I doing? Oh, full screen. I'm kind of waiting for Camel to have more of that, you know, drama between judges, I guess, because I'm interested in talking with you guys about how we judged stuff. What do you guys think of the winners?
I think that pretty much matches what I expected.
Yeah,
I agree.
it's really close.
Yeah.
I think it was appropriate that there was the top 4 for solo maps and the top 2, the way it worked out for Nexuses, but it honestly could have gone either way in some cases.
Mhm.
I'm surprised that the Delo and C Nexus was only 1 point away from Epon's. Because while I think Epon's stuff is incredibly strong, I think Delo and C's stuff was like just the scale of it. But we'll see that coming up.
I did kind of balance for, like, you know, that amount of content over the you know, 2 people versus 1 person to an extent. More in terms of I kind of divided by the amount of time that I spent playing it, like, you know, how much I got out of the Nexus compared to how long I had to be in it.
Yep.
And obviously Delo and C make you play it for a really long time because it's much more challenging.
Yeah.
So that doesn't necessarily mean it's better, but it makes you work for it, which is usually a good thing in Dustforce.
I personally don't. I've said it like multiple times. I don't know if I gave Delo and C's Nexus the amount of time that would have been required for me to accurately like give it the fairest score I could, but I tried to give it the best one I could. I tried to like play all the sections and all the levels and like see how they played to make sure that felt okay. But that it definitely
my
kind
God.
of affected it a tiny bit for me, just because the whole like scale, and I don't think I
I need to see
realized
it.
how much it was.
I need to see if I get a consistent crash.
Yeah, I think the scale of it and the difficulty of some of it made it quite difficult to take it all in. But then the categories that we were rating things on, I think, helped to mitigate that a little bit. Like, one of the categories being playability, I saw that as in like, physically, can I play them out
my
rather
God.
than a scale of difficulty.
No. Are any of you guys getting
Right.
crashes, or is it actually just me? Is it a dev thing?
I could try.
At chat. Output log. I logged in with my ID. There's a stack. What's the stack? It's not crashing with an error. It just has a it just closes.
Let's see here.
Why is there a stack with the Nexuses? Can I switch versions just by doing this? And then it downloads the newest stable version. I'm assuming that's how it would work. Believe it or not, stable should be stable. Right?
Seems stable to me.
Okay, well, let me go back to their Nexus. If one of you guys is in chat, what kind of stuff did you guys end up changing, out of curiosity?
I just had a little peek into
Oh yeah, you gotta open the store.
Nexus. I think that he made some of the level entrances larger, like visually.
I don't think I'm getting crashes. I think it's
It's probably just dev.
probably just dev.
Yeah. I was having issues with it a while ago too. Let me read some of these notes on Delo and C's Nexus. I just added a book because I clicked. Alright.
Yeah.
Let's look at the data. This should be good. Alright, toxic runoff. So, in general, it had a little bit lower playability. It had second place playability compared to Cyan's Dream. A little apostrophe in there. The aesthetics were really close. We got 3 10s for it. 2 9s compared to... I mean, you could say that's the difference, but everything else is a difference, so you can't just pick one thing. Both got high creativity. I'm waiting for Camel to be the very vocal person when it comes to he gave a little bit lower scores in terms of playability and enjoyment. Fortunately, didn't end up swinging the entire thing, but he's gonna explain that when he's here. That should be fun. How far did you guys get? Did you SS all the levels or what?
No, not even close.
Yeah, how far?
Right. I played through all the levels and tried to work out strats for all of them, but yeah, I don't know if I SS'd half of them.
Oh no,
I
man,
I think I was-
could have done if I'd had an extra like 3 days.
yeah, it's certainly challenging for any skill level.
yeah.
I did 2 4-hour streams, and then an extra like maybe 3 hours off stream.
There's just so
like,
much
real-time
content,
scores.
and there's
Yeah.
difficulty on top of it. So,
Yeah,
like,
seriously.
it's really impressive how much they were able to fit in. But like in my opinion, the reason why it was close was because, you know, some of it was lacking a little bit of that playability polish. Like the kinds of gameplay that they require. It's very much their style, and that's the way it is. Like, it's fine to make maps that way, but it really limits who's able to play the maps. Which, like, in my opinion, I think it'd be great if, you know, more people can play maps too, and be able to enjoy them. Like, as far as I know, only Camel and I SS'd all of the levels, and it still took us hours to even handle the final one.
Yeah.
It took me over an hour to do the gold lab door. This kind of level style, personally, not my favorite, honestly. Like the kinds of gameplay with how the level has a very forced flow. That's something that doesn't appeal to me as much. But like, you know, it's really polished. It's really there's a very specific intended way that is polished, but I feel like that methodology should still be improved. Like it's just still lacking in my opinion.
Yeah. For that kind of level, I approach it like trying to solve a puzzle in real time.
Yeah.
And after you've played through so much other stuff and your brain's already starting to slow down, getting to that point where the levels are getting harder and harder towards the end, it's like really taxing. But it's definitely a playstyle that you can get behind, but quite hard to pull off and hard to approach. Makes it way more difficult for newer players.
And what do you guys think of the levers?
Oh,
That
I thought
kind
that
of
was
stuff.
cool.
I really liked it. At
Yeah.
least the way I kind of think of it with the. I don't really know if this is the right way to think of it, but like in the original Dust Force, the Nexus was there kind of as just as sort of like a way to just augment the gameplay, make it more enjoyable, and
Yeah.
keep you out of areas you're not supposed to be in. I feel like with custom maps, people are just going to either go to Atlas or go to the Tome, and they're not going to run around the Nexus. So I kind of really enjoyed that there was like a little puzzle with everything to play through the Nexus, because I'm not about to go through the Nexus again to go to the levels. I'm just going to go to Tomes.
Yeah, that was 100% my hopes that people would do this kind of stuff with gameplay in Nexuses, with having the Nexus aspect of the competition.
I think Delo and C's Nexus and potentially some of Zyke's Nexus were the two that really did that in any regard. Most of the others were just kind of connecting levels together and gating them in some way or another.
Yeah, to
Yeah, I
compare
agree.
with Zykes, that only came through the secret.
Yes.
And the gameplay associated with it, that's all within the levels. And when it comes to actually doing the secret within the Nexus, it's still just something you have to figure out from the levels, and then
Yeah.
and there's not much actual gameplay associated with it.
Yeah.
But
The
it's still
difference
really
there for
cool.
me, though, is it actively tied together the levels.
Yeah.
In a very like concrete, considered way, which I appreciated. I thought that was a very nice touch.
I'm gonna play some on stream. Make people jealous that they could update their Dust Force.
I know you're saying that, Psych, but I agree with them as well. I feel like not trying to like say bad things about other people's Nexuses, but your Nexus had more of a reason to exist beyond just holding the levels. Like, I did really like it.
Yeah, and that is also to say that there's however many other categories that we were judging on. There were so many maps and nexuses that were absolutely like gorgeous to look at, or had some really interesting mechanic. But for the specific thing of tying the nexus together as a whole, those two stood out to me.
I was kind of surprised when I was doing the judging. I looked at everybody else's scores, and I was the second to last person to judge. And I think at that time, Epon and Twinkie were tied for the single map. So I was kind of surprised that I think it was like Jamo was like.
Wow, looking at scores from other judges.
Yeah, of course. I was interested to see whatever people would say.
I only did that after scoring myself.
I mean, yeah. I did as well.
I'm certainly interested.
Yeah.
I think I was one of the first to finish scoring, so I only saw Miles had done some stuff. And then I failed. Didn't have a deep, like, proper look.
My intent with like the comments in the spreadsheet, I wanted to keep it kind of concise because I feel like no, it's fine. In my case, I wanted to keep it concise because we also had the VODs themselves with details for first impressions, and we had and we're going to have the spotlight episodes that I'll at least be in. So I can go more into detail with stuff then too. That's when I plan to have more very specific situational kinds of feedback and comments and questions. So I just kind of kept it short this time.
I actually messed up with my first impressions stream. Didn't save the VOD like a fool.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah.
Camel's comments are coming also by the sound of it. Because, I don't know, something came up and I guess he didn't realize it was at a certain time today. The normal time.
The shade.
Yeah.
How good is your camel impression?
See if there's anything else I wanted to bring up about their Nexus. Oh, I got the wrong one.
I was trying to think of another Nexus that was as visually impressive as that one, and I don't think I could think of one. I think it's probably my favorite Nexus in Dust Force at this time. For me, I thought it was like really fun to run around in, and it was really pretty. But I don't know if I'm like forgetting something.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a really good comparison to Epon's Nexus, which we might as well go into now. And I think the best way to describe the difference is Delos and Seas feel more like a complete experience, whereas Epons feels more like a vertical slice of the experience. Where like Epons is really impressive with the stuff that he does. And it's got this big wow factor all throughout, but it's shorter, as if like, you know, it could have been part of something more. You know, like if he had a partner, or if he had way more time and more levels and that kind of stuff. But Delancey really tied it together and had the Nexus gameplay, and it felt complete as a result. That's the biggest difference between the two of them. Like, I'd recommend Epons to someone that's less skilled at the game. Because, you know, they'll play it more quickly and just be like, wow, that was cool. But then to someone more experienced, or someone that I want to also show off similar things to, I'll show them Delos and Seas Nexus, and then it's like, whoa, like look at all this stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff going on here. Hopefully I can get good enough to play these maps one day.
One of the big differences that I found between these two Nexuses is sort of the Delos C duo stuck to the kind of stock vibes. They did amazing jobs with the aesthetics, but like making it a completely new experience still. But it was still very much like stock map after stock map.
Yeah, it still had that little twist and like unique stuff throughout.
Yeah, sure.
And I mean, they have that detail everywhere.
Yeah. There's like just so much custom stuff in their Nexus as well.
Yeah, but it did feel like what ended up bringing it down and made it so close with Epons ended up being the gameplay. It was just challenging, among other things. A little limiting. Delo has replays on many of his maps too now, so if you want to see those, check out the maps. We also do have the tomes outside the doors.
Yeah, I found it very refreshing that Epon did not stick to the stock vibes like all of the other maps pretty much did.
Yeah, at first it felt like the Nexus' stealth kind of stood out as, oh well, we've got such distinct styles and like the high contrast differences between the three maps, but you kind of need the secret lore drop, the hidden secret in the Nexus to make you kind of think about it and be like, yeah, this makes sense now.
Yeah.
But that kind of contributes to the whole vertical slice aspect too, where you feel like, you know, it would be awesome if Epon turned this into a full Nexus one day.
Right.
Which, you know, I'd be thrilled if you could do that. Just add more detail, a little bit more dynamic gameplay in the Nexus.
Hello.
What's up?
Oh.
You want to complain real quick about
About Delos
something?
Nexus?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, say your hot takes real quick. We just finished talking about Delo and Seas Nexus and are going to move on to Epons.
Oh, did I miss it? That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I was trying to stall a little for you. I stalled
That's
just enough.
Nice of you. All right, so the entire middle section of Delancey's Nexus is pretty much flawless. I feel it appropriately gates progression behind aspects of gameplay you're going to need. However, those aspects of gameplay in the last two maps were so unbelievably frustrating if you were actually trying to assess the map and play it yourself that it was the worst experience I had in the entire judging of the competition. Those two maps were a worse experience than playing the Glorious Nexus. But because the rest of the Nexus was so good, I couldn't actually score lower than the Glorious Nexus.
Yeah,
That's my hot take.
Put your D colon in the chat. You almost cost it for Delo and C. But you didn't, so it was okay, I guess.
You called the tie.
I do, to an extent, agree with that line of thought. I do think the levels are, they're hard. It's off-putting, the kind of challenge that is in the levels. They're not the kind of levels I would recommend to certain people because of that. They look cool, great, but there's a little more going on. But that's why those kinds of levels, they lose a few points for playability and enjoyment for me too, because of that kind of stuff. But Camel he valued that pretty highly, I guess.
I mean, it was actually the worst experience I had. That's why I asked if I could give negative numbers. But I was mostly saying that as a joke.
So I actually, now that we have Camel here, I actually am interested in how some of us use the scales for scoring. So for instance, I used more numbers less than 5. And I noticed some of you didn't. For instance, Simon had the highest scores that he gave out. He gave out nothing like under a 5, I think. Maybe, let's see.
Yeah, pretty much. Nothing below.
Yeah, you gave
average.
passing grades to everybody pretty much.
Yeah. Thing is, for me, you would have had, like, taking playability for an example, it would have had to be a map that I couldn't really get through comfortably.
Yeah, well, I personally viewed it more as like 5 was in a middle ground. 5 would be a pretty good map. Like 1 would have to negatively affect me. 2, 3 to 4, those are kind of like average to good quality maps depending on the scenario. So like you can still have a map that is just like bare bones what it is. It's playable, it's this kind of stuff. Sure, that's a 2. It's not like a negative in your experience, which I used as a 1. And the 3 is just like, there's a little bit of attention that's going on. 4 is starting to get better. 5, that's actually pretty noteworthy. So when I gave certain numbers like that, they really distinguished a lot more between those kinds of rankings. Seeing it more like a tier. So I used more of the lower numbers personally. If you guys want to see all the numbers compiled in a not as easy to look at format, that's in the data that I'm showing. That's probably really hard to just see because there's a lot on screen at once.
I pretty much put a 5 as this is not bad, but it is not like notably good either. So when I average out all the things in Della's Nexus, Della and C's Nexus, most of it was definitely positive playability, but those last 2 maps, and I think one aspect of Nexus movement heading to the last map, is probably inhibiting a lot of people from actually being able to experience it because it's so difficult. And some of the difficulty is a bit odd and restrictive in a way that's frustrating, that I feel like it averages out to not being more good or bad than an average Nexus overall would be.
Yeah. And then the way that I viewed creativity, it's worth less. It's only 5 rather than 10. So in my opinion, it was more like bonus points. But some of you guys were pretty liberal with those too.
Yeah. It's out of 5 unless you're Miles. You can have any scale you want.
I know. Yeah, and I like that we as judges had it in different ways. It showed the differences with how we viewed things. I'm just a very negative guy, so I think everything should be worth less. Something like that. But there are a lot of interesting correlations between how some people scored certain things, and like the rankings themselves.
Yeah. My sort of approach to ranking things ended up being, after my first impressions, where I just put the numbers down as I came across them. I then went through everything again and made like tier lists for people for each of the different categories, and adjusted my ranks from that point, which I think helped to like iron out some of the
Yeah, I did mine in terms of tier lists.
obstacles.
I just
Yep,
put little
that was-
symbols like plus, equals, minus.
Yeah.
I had a baseline map and then I did something similar. It was this better, worse, or relatively equal. And then I had to take into consideration what I would like, which category. For example, in Fairy Glen, there was some foreground tiling that blocked collidable tiling that actually could have been important. And I determined that would go under playability being docked rather than aesthetics, even though it was an aesthetic choice to block that. Whereas in Epon's Nexus, when I got performance drops in the last map, I docked performance or aesthetics rather than playability because I wanted playability to be mostly a gameplay category. Like, did it affect your ability to see gameplay? Not did it affect like the aesthetics in
Uh-oh.
Epon's map were the cause of. Did you crash again or what?
No, Prism showed up.
Why was that?
I don't know why
That's
this is
never
happening
happened
either.
before.
This
This
happened
didn't
to
even get
me
updated.
multiple times.
Is that a loading thing?
I don't know.
The lightning effect was such a good start to this Nexus too.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it sets you in the right mood with the music and everything, and then you get thrown into this kind of map, and then really kind of in the background, thunder and lightning.
They're also certainly placed well. That way you can't stop on a certain trigger. You know, you're going to be having a boost during this section, and if
Yeah.
you don't, you probably would have started the level, honestly.
We will
This door
show
right
off tomorrow.
here, that you're entering, I thought it was slightly peculiarly placed. I didn't understand why there were lab tiles for that door when the first one didn't have it, and then the last one it makes more sense to have it because it just looks like it fits more.
It's so easy to just like go through these kinds of levels and just
Having a nice time.
yeah, it's just so pleasant in a way. It's easy to ignore certain things because you can go fast through them, but there's also not like too much detail that's gonna distract you anywhere. You know, kind of leading me to further suggest it would be great if there were more of these. But then when you look at them, you start to see all those subtle pieces that really add up. And it really culminates in the final map, which has all those kinds of things. And then a little secret on top.
Definitely earned its place at the top of the individual level scores.
Wait, is there actually a key for that? Was that always there? Or was that added?
Yeah, they're red key doors.
I don't remember ever getting a red. I thought that was just automatically unlocked when I
You might
looked
have
through it.
New Game Plus some.
It's possible.
This particular Nexus, just the
I'm
audio,
really looking forward to talking about this.
visual,
Yeah.
like, ambience and atmosphere was just spot on, and so unlike anything else that I'd seen up to that point too.
Oh no. I'm going fast on that one falling apart's free top. Darn.
Unfortunately,
Not
I had
easy.
performance issues on this map when I tried to play it, and then when I tried to play it again, and then again. But when I booted it up this morning, I didn't have any performance issues.
Funnily enough, I get fewer performance issues on this when I have OBS open.
I also didn't die here. I unloaded, which was really funny. in my
Yeah.
first playthrough.
I think he said he fixed that. I don't remember.
He said he deleted death zones by accident at some point, so
Oh.
I imagine he just put them back.
This one did get some update. I don't know what got changed. But this has so much detail in it. I really like the seaweed, that effect, with all the props and stuff like that.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure how the fish are made in the background that move back and forth.
The fish are actually regular particles. It's just custom particle emitters.
Yeah, when I turned
I
particles
was
off, they
absolutely
disappeared.
amazed.
So I can toggle the
Huh.
particles on and off. Might be a little tough to tell with high
I
bitrate,
see.
but
I
There were
looked at this map
colonies
and
you
of
can see
swirling
little
things,
changes.
I see.
I just assumed that there was so much custom like props and scripts going on. But
Yeah.
a lot of it's just legit good mapping.
And the particles around the enemies, and so much stuff just around the level that never interferes.
Yeah. I think it's my favorite level, this one in particular.
And they're on multiple layers.
I agree, Simon.
Similar
Mine as
things
well.
on multiple layers.
Yeah, a lot of attention to detail, especially like when you kill things, they make like a little like water poof and
Yep.
stuff like that.
Great. I guess we'll move on. What do you guys think of Zykes Nexus?
It was an interesting one.
That one had a pretty special secret. It had its own
Yeah.
tome within the Nexus. The
feel like I
secret
just
is not
have
in the tome.
brain
Fun
damage.
fact. Yeah, I don't know how you didn't understand the secret, honestly. I was just getting messages from Camel yesterday, just like regarding how the secret works, and I was just like, "What? How do you think it works that way?" I won't spoil it, but definitely try to experience it yourself. It's
Borrowed
not
a
in the
few brain
tome,
cells from
but there
Elder
is
Cal.
another map. Did you guys figure it out yourselves?
Mostly.
Mostly?
Wait, are you
Most-
talking about? Sorry, are you talking about Zykes?
Yeah, it's like secret. Don't spoil what it is, but did you figure out the secret yourself?
So Zykes gonna kill me for this. I
Uh-oh.
kind of did. I did explore the levels and find the stuff. I didn't like piece together that I need to like record some things,
Yeah.
and so I was like, and then when I went back, I was like, I've already gone there. I'm just gonna editor there to look
Oh.
at it. I don't want to have to like run over there again. So I did go to the places without editoring, but then once I realized what I needed to do, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
found
I don't
some
disagree
secrets
with
there.
that idea though, because you already found everything that you needed to. You already know how it works. It was kind of similar for me. It took me streaming it, and I did most of that, the Nexus in one. I found some stuff, but didn't quite put together how exactly it worked. And then as soon as I stopped streaming, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Actually, all I had to do was think about this, and then yeah,
That's why I couldn't do it. I don't think.
yeah, what to think, the think.
Yeah. When I was doing the individual levels, I found some secret stuff, and that already had me in the mindset that I need to be paying attention to the secrets. But I didn't actually do a good job of it, so by the time I was done, I was like, I think I've got all the bits I need to make
Ow.
this work, but I just can't. And I had not done a good job. Yeah, with a little bit of help, Cow helped me rub my remaining brain cells together and get it sorted.
Even with a lot of help, I needed even more.
Uh-oh.
I was really showing that, you know, whenever you think you're dumb, Camel's there to be dumber than you. It's okay.
Yeah. As far as the levels go, I thought that the approach between each level being consistent
I
and
think
kind of well thought out was kind of good to start with.
I think Pachinko needs to be addressed before we say something like that. Though.
I either need to update my save or the door IDs might not have been fully fixed.
I would agree for the most part that there's thematic
I might be playing the
consistency
wrong
between
version.
what the levels are and what you're
Yep.
supposed to do. But Pachinko just feels really jarringly out of place to me.
What?
It's the token arena level.
Uh,
If it could be called such a thing. And the secret in it is actually one of the highlights, I think, of the pack.
Yeah,
the secret within Pachinko?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Also really amused me that so the pack's about knocking stuff into the void or whatever, but a lot of the time you can actually just kill the enemies.
Yeah.
Hey, can one of
So
you guys
Pachinko.
go double check the doors and the Nexus itself that's in chat and doesn't have the normal files still in their own computer? I feel like we might not have fully edited these because they go to the normal files. But it could just be that I have two save files, and save files are a little wonky when you have two Nexuses that are exactly the same. Because it tries to load a checkpoint, and then the checkpoint loads a bunch of other stuff. So it wouldn't work for me the same way as it would work for someone that's downloading it for the first time. You're just supposed to check, like, you go into the Nexus and then see that the tome has stuff that works. Okay, this probably does work now. I still get these two. The tome outside of the Nexus seemed correct. The tome inside is what, for me, I think might be a little weird. I will look more into that later. Anything else you guys want to say about this one?
I appreciated the concept, but I didn't enjoy all the levels as a result.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's
my
pretty good,
comments
yeah.
kind of summarized that too.
Yeah.
It's not super original or anything. We've seen it before, but this really doubles down on it in some good and less good ways, like Pachinko.
I mean, at least Pacheco made me laugh when I saw it, so I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But I do agree.
I gave it the benefit of the doubt at first. I was like, yeah, this is the best way you can use tires, but it's still gonna suck.
There's some really
We're-
bad uses
we're a
of
little
tires
bit
towards
too
the end.
Hurt. Tires have hurt
The
us
good
in the
thing about
past.
Pachinko is that it's easy to SS, so you can forget about it quickly. And then you get to a sit-in difficult, and you're like, why are they back?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not over.
Just the worst way. I think the other thing that I really thought for this Nexus is it's visually quite cool, quite busy, and a little bit chaotic. And I thought, is that like an aesthetic choice? Because by the very end, it becomes quite clear that stuff's up in this Nexus, and so I thought maybe that.
Well, it
wasn't
goes
a
kind of
bad-
back and forth. It makes
Yeah.
sense for the Nexus later, but I would say that that kind of inconsistency in some parts of levels was also a little problematic at times. Some stuff was just good. Some stuff, it was normal. It was acceptable for sure. But it was a little over the place.
Yeah.
Now, one Nexus that I'm really interested in talking about for that spotlight when that happens. This is the PRNG Nexus.
Yes.
So, do you guys know very much about how the mechanics behind everything works by this time?
Decent bit.
What do you mean by this time? Do you mean like? In
Yeah, I
the
mean you've
Sparky
obviously
Nexus?
judged, but do you know like how they work behind the scenes or anything like that? Which
Uh,
obviously isn't
to
what
what
we've
extent?
judged.
Not beyond what is explained to you later.
Yeah, like we've seen the seeds that get generated, but how they're actually utilized is just completely unknown.
Okay, so I'm gonna show level 1 in the editor and try to explain some of the easier stuff on stream. So this does explain.
1
It
being
gives
one
you
of the
some
latest
little
levels.
hints. Levels randomly generated based on your actions. The actions that matter that affect the seed number are the 4 actual actions that aren't directions. So jump, dash, attack, attack. Those increase the seed number. So you can do specific things to play the same level. You can predetermine the RNG in quotes. You seed the level yourself in order to play it a certain way. This was a design intention that honestly I think is not necessarily the best, but also it works for the goal. It does what it's supposed to do for what Avenge wanted. But then using that seed, when you go into the editor, you can see all of the pieces that are available. You can see like this is what you could play, and it puts all of those together. Then it puts the final one at the end. Honestly, some of them flowed better than others. More on the negative side in some cases, for sure. That was a big inconsistency for me, for the Nexus.
So I didn't actually play this on my Windows 7 PC, so I don't know if it's like universally applicable. But I consistently got input drops and frame drops more than just when the seed was like loaded or seed was generated and like presumably all the segments would be loaded. But upon screen transitions, I got those drops, and there were several screens where you could get a FUD boost and your jump would get eaten, so you just boost into spikes and you couldn't prevent it. I did that so many times.
Yeah, so I never experienced
never
anything
learned.
between segments. Plus, all the segments are moved when the seed does its thing. But I always do get like a second of the game just thinks about it real quick for a second and moves everything and deletes everything. So I can even show you using frame advance and tools and stuff what happens to these when
Oh yeah. Zoom out. the camera.
let's see. Not actually the easiest thing to show. Maybe it's easier to see on other maps. There's a secret.
Might be easier on the first.
Oh,
map.
yeah. I also tried.
This was
use
easier to see
secrets,
on
and I couldn't
another
do
map.
it.
So I'll just do it on level 1. Okay, so when I go in here, it's gonna teleport me, and then man, you really can't see it on this one. I'm gonna switch levels. It was pretty cool on whatever level I was looking at.
I think you'd have to go backwards. You can't stay in this because these all use the same base to just hide
Yeah.
different aspects.
I'd go to the forest one, probably. The smallest scale and most visually bright.
But you can see how it moves down everything. That's basically what I'm trying to get at. Yeah, it just kind of teleports a bunch of stuff around. I don't know, it was easier to look at earlier. I don't know if I'm gonna enter this hole or what. I was looking at it off stream. I swear, it was cool.
I've just done what you're doing in the forest map, and you can see stuff popping in. Pretty cool.
He's committed though. Can't back
Yeah,
down now.
Completely.
All right, well, you can see that it duplicates some stuff. If it did fewer things at once and it spaced it out, it would be a little less crazy, I think. And that's what the loading section should be like. But you really gotta chunk it. Then it deletes all the prisms that it's not gonna use. So you can SS it.
Oh, I didn't even consider that being a problem.
It looked like what it was doing wasn't deleting them, it was applying like a velocity downward, because I just saw them keep going down. So I'm curious if that's actually how it worked, and then there's just like a giant death zone at the bottom, because there are death zones at the bottom.
I imagine it would unload before they got there.
But I don't see
Maybe.
why it would work that way also.
Yeah, eventually it's
Also,
got to point the
for, like,
camera.
Yeah, level 2, level 3, wouldn't you like not even be close enough to the segments so they wouldn't even be loaded in the first place?
Yeah, I know, but it's easier to see it on the arcade compilation. Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm
the
just-
camera's also really challenging to deal with, I imagine, but it's still something that needed to be solved better, in my opinion. Especially for the ones with boosts.
There's
Yeah.
one specific level 2 screen where you can go up first and then come back around and go down. And because you can't see that, you have to guess which way you go. And because this is like procedural generation to an extent, I feel like that kind of gameplay shouldn't be included in that kind of gimmick.
Yeah, it did just kind of drop you off, and I would always just stop and be like, am I gonna die? No, okay, good. That did certainly kill me a few times on stream, though. I just get a sig boost, and then the next section killed me, it turns out.
Yeah, I think conceptually this was very impressive, but they needed a little bit more
Yeah,
polish on some of the segments.
yeah,
The
it's
gameplay
a
wise
good
or
tech
some
demo,
specifics.
but it actually could have been a better tech demo in terms of like looking like a tech demo, not just that it's a bunch of levels. But that said, it is still incredibly cool what's been accomplished so far.
It's cool that it exists, but I don't care to play it. Mainly because the replayability involves like finding an optimal seed, and that's just not the kind of thing I'm interested in.
Yeah. Other stuff would be like subverting normal gameplay. Just kind of would need to be done to some degree, in my opinion. Like having an endless mode would be a good suggestion. A few people have said that.
And the goal there would be presumably the longer you live, the higher your score, the lower
Yeah.
your time. I don't know how that would work in rankings.
Yeah. We can have custom rankings on leaderboards. That's in scripting. So it can be like max percent. Like max segments completed. Max
That
tiles
would be very
gone
cool
or
then.
something. Probably be segmented. Because some tiles are like longer than others or have more dust.
You'd need a way larger variety of tiles though for the generation.
Oh wait, yeah, is that only for plugins? I mean, you can still combine plugins. It would just be it's a little different. You know, because you can't play it as normally. But I'm sure MSG, if he really wanted, could have those kinds of things just work normally too. Not to ask him to do things. But he's doing some cool work on randomizer right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, really cool. I can only hope for more. Definitely interested in having that conversation. And we got Niggleri's Nexus. Which, you know, unfortunately it is what it is. It's got some gimmicks.
Hey now,
we
I started
did
right,
happen
you're on
to
right.
we did happen to score the lowest. Because it's not as polished, honestly. It's just, yeah, it's not as special as the others. It's the best way to summarize it. Honestly, I liked Right a lot more than the other Naglaria maps in this.
Yeah, me too.
It was a cool
Yeah,
little
it's the only one
gimmick.
I liked. Like by like I mean
Yeah.
tolerated.
This was the first level in the competition I played, and I was like, wow, if Naglaria is making a map this good, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah, so the premise of this one is it forces you to heavy left. There is actually a way you can still kind of cheese it, unfortunately, but don't think too hard about it. Just play as intended.
You're far more consistent at this reversal than I am.
Because I know how it
I
works.
can only do it out of dash cancels.
I think people may have been
No.
overly brutal with Naglaria's maps.
Oh,
I guess that's
Cameron.
my hot take.
I used the full scale of what I could, and I already explained my scoring. I don't think it was brutal, but I do think that it is unfortunate that these maps have to be scored that way when you compare them to the rest of them.
Yeah.
You didn't have the guts to score anything under 5, so you really shouldn't be talking.
I explained my system. It has internal validity, okay? But the thing that stood out with this Nexus for me was the overall concept is actually consistent and makes sense. The whole Nexus is called One Direction. Right, you only shoot right.
But
Yeah.
And then that
Actually,
top
yeah.
one, you know.
The top one is all about single-sided gimmicks. And downhill is just down. So there's
There's value.
method to
Yeah.
this. Yeah,
There's value.
There's value. So I bumped him up in creativity and originality for this.
Other than the scripts for this, we've seen it before. This time it just kind of forces you to do that kind of stuff, in not always pleasant ways, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it's just here's some situations, but it doesn't feel very tailored to a fun experience.
Completely agree.
So that's why I got the scorings that I gave it. You know, it doesn't feel like he had to release these in the competition. But that said, he did, so he's way better than all of you guys that didn't. Like Diesel said, outscored the couch users, the couch map makers, backseat map makers. This got 5th place. What did you get? And then some people in chat are just like, I got 3rd, smiley face.
I had a lot more of a brutal outlook on this, but I won't.
Yeah,
won't
but you
talk
scored
about
it
Go
3rd
for it.
best out of
Wait,
the 5 judges.
There's no.
Camel and I scored it
There's-
harsher than you
There's
did.
no. I feel like. Wait, what did I even like? All right, I don't want to talk about it, but. I'm
Okay,
just
well,
trying to think of, like,
I just
what-
gotta say, in terms of the range of scores, we got. I scored this in 11. Simon scored it at 31. I scored Acid Nexus 3rd place out of 31. Simon did also score the highest high point, Delos Nexus and C's Nexus at 52. I had 47 as my highest. So like I had a big range. That's That's how it went for me and Camel. And J-Dude just dipped really low for this one.
Wait, I'm actually a little bit. Never mind. I'll
What?
figure this out.
You went 30. You went 13 to 46, and I went 11 to 47.
It's more like when I look at the results with the data, I'm not following what's going on in the Nexus totals. Seems like there's a duplicated number somewhere.
A duplicated number?
Yeah, you have it as a 14 for One Direction. I have it as a 16.
What? Well, this isn't the scoring that the rankings are on, so errors here, okay?
Okay.
How do I have it as a 14 for you?
Are we both on the data page?
No, it's
Cell D6? Okay, well.
right here. Sick comments, bro. Camel Pro.
Oh, let me copy them over now that I'm here.
I don't see
Enjoy sentence.
what's different. This looks correct to me.
Oh, yeah, ignore everything I was saying. I was on an
Yeah.
outdated spreadsheet.
Yeah, no scandals. Definitely didn't have errors in scoring and need to change the renters real quick. Alright, let's talk about some single maps. We already discussed gels a little bit. Anything else you guys wanted to say about that one in particular? Before Twinkie's map? No? Okay, let's talk about Ragwood.
I would have said even in the individual levels, I think Ebon's map was the only one that kind of did something really unexpected visually.
I mean, it was really detailed in how it did underwater.
Yeah.
Like, we don't see underwater or like desert kind of maps much in general, but yeah, they're all really impressive in the themes that they pick. But yeah, it's definitely not a stock thing for sure. Those two things.
Yeah.
All right. So how many of you guys went right and how many of you went left?
I went left.
I went right.
I went left as well.
On every map that I played where I could go left first, I did. But on this one, I'd been spoiled by watching some of Miles' first stream, so I went right instead.
Alright, here's how I feel about this conversation. Dust Force is a game that you're supposed to try to SS to some degree. You know, you're supposed to complete the level. There are some maps that have exploration in them. But we as a community refer to them as secrets. And if there's ever any secrets that kind of affect gameplay, it's never going to be something required for the actual SS or anything like that. So the casual experience, that, in my opinion, if you want like a first impression, you got to go right. Like, your first impression, you going right, you're playing the map as intended. And you're going to get pieces of lore. You're going to learn real quick, once you fail this boost, that you hit taunt multiple times. I really like the taunt button, but it does take a little bit to get used to taunt multiple times. And then there's so much text to read. So, and then you, once you get hit by this trash can and you kind of hate stuff, you're gonna be stuck in front of some people that want to talk to you. And then you're just like, okay, well, I'll just experience it for what it is. So you casually go through the level, probably get like an SD or SB or something. Maybe you miss some dust. But that's the way I see it. Then you're like, alright, now I got this base lore content down. What's on the left side? And then that's when Twinkie brings even more in for you. You know, he kind of hints at it, and then he goes full into the secrets. There, defend left now. You can't.
I would have a leg to stand on if I was able to scroll through the text messages if I went left first, but I couldn't. 'Cause I didn't know I had to press taunt again.
You really didn't miss out on that much, and it was right there for you to figure it out. But yeah, you guys just got to experience this one yourselves. I'm not going to read aloud all the text, but we got Officer Indipop over here. There's some stuff that happened. It's there's a little story in here, you know. I honestly wish it did a little bit more with it, personally. And some of the enemies are kind of oppressive. So those are some of the only things that brought down this from really, really good for me. I scored it just under Gels personally. No, not more lore, but lore that was more relevant. You know what I mean? That affected the gameplay a little more. Because when I was reading so much of it, I just felt like, you know, some of it's going to be relevant. I got to remember. But, you know, very little of it really was. And the things that I thought were going to be relevant weren't. So, a little disappointing there. But there's so much detail.
I think the majority of the fragments of lore just dotted across this entire massive area, at least connected to other parts of the lore, like other areas of the map will pick up a thread that was sort of connected even tangentially. So I think there's good consideration to the internal lore, but like you say, not a lot of it contributed to gameplay aspects. So I didn't find that much of a problem myself. I knew what I was getting in for. Story time.
I feel the only thing negative you can say about this map really is that the gameplay doesn't stand out. But it wasn't designed to have gameplay stand out. So, like, is that even really a criticism of it?
It's hard to figure out the way to play it, honestly. You can, but it's got some awkward zigzagging that we're not really used to dealing with in order to make it flow, which, you know, a little awkward.
Yeah, the gameplay sort of splits in two throughout the map. There's the whole town section here that feels a little bit weird, and you have to find your own flow through it. And then the second half of the map is just boost your way to the end, and it kind of feels good. So.
Yeah, right from this point onwards, where you can have super there, I think the map like flows perfectly well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I very much appreciated the second half with the boosts compared to the first half with all the enemies. And then it doesn't even, like, it changes up how it does the boosts too. And it's got like one little attack in there just to be like, hey, I'm better than Delo and C maps if you're me or Camel. And then and then it's over. Hey, look, I did it. I did the
The
attack.
gameplay did its trick. That's all it needed to do. It didn't do more than that though.
Oh yeah.
By a lot.
So let's see how
But I would
judges
say-
went through, compared this to the other map it tied, Epons. So we got higher playability, as we were just saying, from Gels. That was the lowest thing that Ragwood scored on. Aesthetics, only off by 1 between the two, both top quality. Enjoyment, I was apparently the only judge that didn't give this a 10 for enjoyment. I'd like to hear, I guess, why you guys all gave it a 10. Because for the same kind of reasons that I was describing, and the playability, I'm surprised you would still give it a 10.
Playability
It's-
is not the same as enjoyment, and it adds
Yeah.
a lot. I had a great time in it, and exploring it, and just taking it all in.
I
Yeah, I
never
was.
found the playability to be so negative that it like impacted my enjoyment. Nothing close to that.
Okay.
Fair.
And like as was mentioned earlier, the map wasn't, to me, it wasn't meant to be enjoyed for the gameplay. It was meant to be enjoyed from just the lore, the story time.
Yeah.
That's why I.
But I don't
thought
wanna
it
read.
was like great for it, but I understand the if that's not your thing.
Yeah, I just hate reading, so that's why it's only an 8, which is still tied second best enjoyment for me.
We did need a fully voice-acted version. Community effort. Make it happen.
And then high creativity for both too. So, you know, really
Did I give
confirm.
Bells a 4 or a 3? I can't remember. Gave it a 4. Okay.
Other than Magma Run using the scripts, creativity kind of goes roughly in order. You know, there's a little bit of minor. Never mind. It's a little in reverse for the second half there. Never mind. It's not that big of a correlation between creativity and ranking. Now, I do want to point out, we were just talking about enjoyment. My enjoyment very clearly is in the same order as the rankings as they show up in the spreadsheet. So I would like everybody to know that usually I enjoy the best maps, as it is shown here. Proven by everybody else's opinions on map quality. My enjoyment is in order from best to worst. Sure, there are a
Generally
couple
is.
ties, but it shows in order. Also, playability is pretty close too, honestly. And not only that, the way that I ordered my rankings, pretty close. Take that, everybody else. My judging was best.
The judge who comes in first place is. Miles is last place because he's not even here.
What else do you guys want to say about this map? It's really good.
The attention to detail, just wild. Like,
Oh yeah, the parallax and everything.
parallax layers.
The parallax
all
is
of the
probably my
props on the
favorite thing about
floor.
this map.
If you go into editor, zoom out a bit, and just move your mouse over all of the props in the floor to make this effect. It's
Yeah.
just a whole
Let's
lot
do
of
a little.
hand placed.
This is the best parallax I have seen in Dust Wars. Sometimes I've seen the effect be jarring whenever I see the script, but this does it really well. It's still a little kind of rough around some of the buildings, corners, but you know,
Yeah.
it's really good. The way that it handles the bridge and a lot of the certain kinds of buildings, just incredible.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing about the map.
And my biggest complaint, which is a tiny complaint anyway, is some of the props in some of the back layers that look like they're all like shrouded in dust fog. Some of those props stood out as not really having the same level of dustiness.
Yeah, the parallax does just kind of stop there.
Yeah.
And then really far in the background, it's as if like, you know, you pass this haze cloud So if you really wanted to poke at it and not give it the 10 for aesthetics, you can. But there are a lot of 10s that got thrown around for aesthetics for these top 4. In fact, some of our judges gave 10s to all 4 of them, which isn't exactly lazy, but really easy, really deserved as well.
Yeah.
I thought about it, but I was like, that's too lazy. Oof.
Apparently, I didn't actually give a 10 for aesthetics to anyone. Up your game, people.
Yep. Everybody could have been doing better. I gave 110 to aesthetics in each of the Nexus and solo levels. I just picked a one that I thought stood out more and gave the rest 9s. I'm curious about this music also. So for the custom music that was used, these are remixes by somebody. Do we have credit for them somewhere, or are they actually just all Twinkie also?
I know Twinkie does play guitar, so
Cool.
could very well be. That's my assumption anyway.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
I thought he told me that it was him on the guitar, or at least that.
Sounds really good.
Yeah. Oh, I think my other small complaint, the whole area has got like this awesome soundtrack going on, but then when you get down into the mines, I just wish there'd been like some level of ambience,
Yeah, I agree.
some eerie music, or I don't know, something keep my ear interested.
I think if you go and check out the map again, that might be different now.
It
Oh
might
yeah,
be-
did I get updated? That specific part?
Yeah.
I can't make it
yeah,
out.
Music in the update. All right.
Nice.
I mean, I take it back.
Big fan.
Killing it.
Big fan. Time to reveal it on stream by teleporting. Yeah, I really like that some of the issues were addressed. Alright. Is this enough for 10? I don't know. It could be a tiebreaker.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it needed though. I'm impressed.
This gameplay to get to the secret in the map that's down here, I'm not a fan, but also this, like, it doesn't need to flow well or anything, so I didn't dock anything for it. Like,
Yeah, not my
you knew what
favorite
you were
kind of
getting
gameplay.
into.
But I mean, if it's the mine aesthetic really well for the gameplay, you know, it makes sense for where it is.
It was
really
also meant
confined.
to be deadly, you know, chance of death is high, I think the sign said. So,
Yeah, and then
like,
it actually
that
killed
makes
you.
sense.
Lights. I thought it was kind of ease into it, and then it didn't. I was like, uh-oh. I guess it might kill me. But yeah, more text, more lore. There's a lot more detail in this one. Looks like we got a lot more for after you deal with.
This one right here is a
Apple.
lot of updated. There are only like 4 before.
I'm
I
not
think.
gonna spoil these, but all these text boxes, that's a lot of writing.
I wanted to say I'm excited to see what people might do
Oh my god, it looks like there's more.
with the
Oh
Tom
my god, there's
thing.
stuff on the right side.
Hold on, what? I
Yeah.
never got there.
All right. You're gonna have to experience it yourself. There's more. It's real. Anything you guys want to say about Downpour specifically?
It's beautiful. The
Yep.
only thing is that the prisms, they're noticeable enough that I couldn't give it a 10, but everything else is like so good. But the prisms just don't feel right.
Yeah. Someone in my chat was making fun of me for thinking prisms had to be brought up. I was just like, I mean, I wasn't about to say anything bad about it, but yeah, if you want me to go into detail, I don't like them. It doesn't make sense. So let's
Yeah,
talk about
they
prisms
don't
real
fit.
quick. Yeah, we gotta address this. I personally don't think that there's enough to like, what's the right word? There's not enough reason to say why there's a prism there in the level, aesthetically. Sure, you can say like there's this little heat lamp thing, but there are a bunch of other little heat lamps that don't have them. Like right here, no prism. It has very similar lighting, no prism. Why is there one but not the other? It is kind of like really poking a little too hard at the issue, but they stand out. If they were like a custom kind of enemy, like Epons, that showed in place of the prisms, maybe that would have been the right call. You don't really know that in the moment, I guess. Epon was the only one that did that kind of stuff too. Did it well.
For this first prism at least, I don't think it needs to exist. You could just make that tile edge cancelable. And I'm not sure anything changes except you can avoid having to put a prism in the first place. Oh, second prism.
Well,
First one you already
to
have.
be fair, all of my gameplay issues came from what I have on screen right now, which actually does make up half of the level, but it's not without its flaws, unfortunately. There's some parts that just feel unfair, and there's some parts that don't seem to flow as nicely. It's unclear when you're dealing with this first turkey after you get that first prism, and between that and the next prism, because it's right there. You're like, I can up heavy this, and then now you can't jump that high anymore. But you don't realize it was a mistake until you deal with other things first. So it's really hard to balance that kind of stuff.
Also, was this updated?
There are a lot of things that were updated. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Can you tell anything that's updated?
There's this drop right here, beneath this turkey that you're talking about.
I mean, there's
I'm
nothing
pretty
there.
sure that wasn't there. But is there actually nothing there? Oh,
There's a
okay,
death
it's just a
zone.
building.
There's been a death
Okay.
zone.
All right. The fact that you had
I don't
entities.
think any secrets got added.
There's no apples in this level, which
Yeah.
made me a little bit sad.
They spent so much time on the Nexus, and it came out really well.
Yeah.
But it's the opposite of, we usually expect all of the cool stuff and see its secrets. But for once, we see all of the cool stuff just right there in front of you, and no secrets, so it's a little different.
True. I was surprised that there's not even a token apple though.
Yeah, there
Like,
actually is in
no
Delos map.
Terra drop, whatever.
Did you guys find the apple in Fairy Gun? We'll get there, but did you find it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Man, this trash can's hard to deal with. Thoughts? Or is that good enough?
I can deal with the trash can from the checkpoint, but I don't think that I've consistently had a run where it works.
And this tile's still here. I don't notice any changes myself to the gameplay. I know the factory was nerfed a fair amount, Dello had the pleasure of telling me after I assessed it.
I am actually looking forward to playing through that whole Nexus like properly, because it's the kind of level set
Yeah.
that I would have played on Atlas
Yeah, definitely worth it.
anyway, but I would have taken my time with it, and in isolation, it wouldn't have like really tired me out. Yeah. But as far as this level goes, just the visuals.
Yeah,
make
so
it
that
stand out. It's beautiful.
you can see so many different kinds of effects, like on screen right now. We've got this really cool lighting and shadow, which honestly really hard to notice. And like you have to look so hard in order to tell that there's actually a shadow behind Dustman on that next layer.
Yeah.
Which, despite being impressive, I kind of wish it were stylized a little bit more. Like, you know, a little easier to notice some of this kind of stuff. Exaggerated a little bit more, maybe. That way, it would basically be that step between a 9 and a 10, in my opinion. Like, if some of this kind of stuff were, like, not too subtle, basically. Like, subtlety has its place. It's great that there are so many subtle things, but without some of that kind of stuff that really goes above and beyond, that, you know, like the normal person can notice, people aren't really gonna notice everything, and you know that's okay sometimes. But like,
Found it very difficult
you're not
to
gonna
see
notice
lamp effect.
certain things that you might be
Yeah.
really proud of. So yeah, all this stuff is really cool though. But it's still like you could still make the argument like, yeah, it's city, but it's special. It's got this cool stuff, but it could still look a little more stylized and less like just city to an extent. Obviously, that's kind of underselling it, but that's the kind of train of thought I'm trying to get at. But that's one of those differences, one of those little differences between 9 and 10.
So the lights in the windows are actually a really nice touch, but I couldn't figure out how it was done without looking in editor.
Oh yeah, those are really in depth, surprisingly. I'm certainly interested in doing a spotlight on as much of the stuff that we can. So let me pull apart some props. And by some, I mean I don't know how to select certain things.
There's a bunch of stuff off to the left that is just parts of the map for copy pasting, which is just worth looking at in itself. The approach taken to building the map.
Yeah, lots of shadow props too. Those are all like black moons everywhere. Or suns, I guess. Really good use of props and sublayers to make everything work.
I also really appreciate that the rain is more subtle. You didn't overload on particle effects that had the potential to lag more people than it had to.
Yeah, but honestly, it kind of turned it into more of just like a drizzle and less of a downpour.
Uh-huh.
You gotta say it. It's not a downpour.
Oh.
It's just raining, man.
Hey, some of us live in California and would consider this a downpour.
It is true. I don't understand what it is about weather that you guys think it's raining, but it's not.
Gonna rename the map to Drizzle then.
It's just a little rain. It's barely even a rainstorm. It's raining, okay? Like, yeah, it's fine. It's raining. Umbrella? Question mark? Do you need it for this? Not really. If you don't need an umbrella, is it even raining? What's the line? You certainly can't have a downpour and not even need an umbrella for it.
We needed an umbrella to be scripted into then. Really sell the point.
Yeah. Honestly, if Dustman were dripping and like all wet, and like kind of shaded a certain way, that would further sell it. Yeah. Notice that I said Dustman. Let's move on. Okay. We'll go through them in arbitrary order that the Nexus has them in. What do you guys think of Anachronism? I think this is actually in alphabetical order. Good HGT map. He's really been moving up in the world.
Yeah. It was fun to play, but lacked some visual polish.
Yeah, I agree. It felt kind of like when I first played it, it felt like all the Cyber Complex maps kind of like smashed together, and then maybe a little like, no offense HGT, but a little less effort or a little less polish, I guess. I want to say effort.
Yeah, it's definitely inspired in a very simple kind of pattern that looks very clean. You know, very pleasing to the eye. You can tell what's going on. You know, that's all good. You know, it scores well, but it lacks those kinds of details that really puts those other ones above it. And that's the case for things like Zyke's Nexus too, and a lot of those kinds of maps, in my opinion. Like Ucky's kinda, in my opinion, ended up bridging the gap a little, but there is a gap. Thanks to all that detail. But you know, it looks like something Temp would do. You know,
I thought this was a temp map.
it's that kind of reliable visual style.
I didn't really see anything super special in the gameplay either. It also felt very Cyber Complex-y.
Yeah.
But kind of like the combination of the visual style being super clean, as well as the gameplay being very familiar, like really, at least for me, elevated the enjoyment. Because it is like a popcorn map almost. Enjoyable to me. So I felt like if it was like they tried to do something really original that kind of sucked, and it also had, I don't know, not great visuals, it would have been terrible. But I'm glad that they kind of leaned into this. I felt like it was the best option for HGT. So I really enjoyed it, at least.
I think that everything people have said about it feeling like Cyber Complex, both aesthetically and gameplay wise, is why I mentioned that in my comment that it didn't feel like this was made to be submitted to a competition. It felt like this was just a really high quality map for Atlas. If you understand where I'm going with that.
Yeah, but that kind of skill level does also match HGT from what we've seen. Like he's building up to that as a map maker. So now we have higher expectations for him.
Again, this is very clean. There's great visual clarity. It looks really good. However, it's not special in the sense that it doesn't seem like it was designed for a contest. It just seems like a lot of effort was put into it as a high quality Atlas map.
It just gets overshadowed.
I think,
But you
I
know,
think though this is what HGT does. This is his recent map style has
Yeah.
been this sort of map, and we've seen them generally be a lot shorter. So he's put the time in to make a much longer map, but I still think just could have done something a bit different, put his own stamp on it, made it really like stand out.
yeah, I'm looking forward to if he ends up coming up with some style he likes.
Yeah.
Then he can hone his own craft.
It's respectable, that's for sure.
I mean, it scored right there in the middle. What do we got on this one? This was 6th. Really close with Rotten Tower. Thanks to Camel. We'll get to that later.
Dude, that map was so good.
Alright, we'll keep it moving. Naglaria's map. I already talked about. You guys want to bring up anything else?
Which one is it? Oh,
Chirality. I don't know how you're supposed to say it.
Irrelevant.
No updates to it.
Forcing this infinite wall climb at the end it's too long.
Not a good idea. You're right.
Big agree.
You said it.
I think my comment was along the lines of the Droof is fun, and you want a Droof to be long, but then having to infinite wall climb is just
Yeah, I didn't do it once. Like, it's just not this kind of thing that I seek out in maps personally. So this was one of 2 maps that I did not SS.
I did it first try, but didn't do it on an SS run and never did it again.
Wow, you're so
But
good.
As in, like, I tried, but I couldn't do it again.
Anything you guys want to say about Corrosive Temple? The one with the totems?
it wasn't the strongest map from that pack, in my opinion.
I said the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not the map I would have submitted.
I don't know off the top of my head which one I would have picked, but this I did not enjoy as much as others.
There's some dust spread on that wolf, and it's kind of stupid, and it's unfortunate that it's even possible.
Yeah, that's been fixed.
Okay.
Update, luckily.
So this stone boss right here, I think was either an oversight, the one that Zonda was on and then died and has gone back.
Which one?
The one that gets baited into jumping at you, then it resets its position, and then you have to bait it again to its death, or you heavy it 4 times. This one on the right. You have
This
to bait it,
section
it
did
needs to return
change
to
a
its
little bit,
position,
right?
And then you have to go slow enough so that you can bait it again here.
I just remember needing to bait it twice. Because I would just let it do that
Wait,
one more
what
time.
did you... Okay, yeah.
That's how I did it. And we got spring blobs. And spikes. We got a lot of
So,
stuff.
I like that there's a lot of floors that you can land on in this section. Definitely a good choice.
Yeah. I also did enjoy being smacked into the goo by a falling totem in slow motion repeatedly.
It's effective.
Like when you can die and smile about it, something's okay. Oh, this particular climb with the small totems flying at you, I really enjoyed. I thought that was a fun little unexpected thing. You don't see that so often.
I think I learned to trust that those would kill themselves. I'm not sure if I verified they did, but the map
I
is
don't know if
generally
that
good about that.
Notice. No.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. That kind of exemplifies why. You know, you're not gonna bait them all the time. It is rough around the edges.
Is the end flag fixed?
Is it fixed?
Oh yeah, it spawned you in the middle of this platform, I believe,
Oh.
so you just perma-died.
I actually didn't
It looks
notice that,
fixed.
but
It's fixed.
it wouldn't have taken away any points for me
No. Yeah, definitely didn't
because I'm
lose points. But
I completely
it bothered
forgot to
me.
mention it even, but I
Hey,
thought it was funny when I
fixed it
played
anyway.
through it.
Good.
And it's got its own aesthetic and an elephant.
The
Yeah,
elephant was funny.
Yeah.
I genuinely couldn't find the elephant. Then I looked again and I was like, oh.
And then it's got stuff over there. Fairy Glen. Anything else to say about that one?
Very fun.
There is an apple.
I had
Yeah.
lag issues on this map.
Really?
Yeah.
It actually looks. Oh no, okay.
The fairies are so cool.
This was honestly kind of rough start to the Nexus in terms of playability for me. I'm actually getting a little choppiness. Can't really see it in the FPS, but I mean, nothing ran like perfectly for me anyway. But it was all fine. It's got the dust
just think-
spread.
This map in particular was the worst out of all the maps in the entire competition for me.
Wow.
The entire competition. Oh, for play
Yeah.
like frame rate.
Oh yeah, for
performance?
the lag. No, I feel
This is probably
this map
third
was
for me.
awesome.
Sucks.
Man, that's definitely why I rated it fourth. It should have been worst.
Did I make it fourth as well? I think that's about right.
Let's see how many people had differences in their top four. There was a minor point difference. It was 155, 155, 147, 143. J-Dude had 33 or 32 for all four of them, really close. I had them as Gels was first, and then Ragwood and Downpour were tied, then Fairy Glen. Miles had Ragwood first, Gels Downpour tied, Fairy Glen fourth. So Fairy Glen is actually lowest or tied lowest for all of us, of the four. And then, of course, Camel thought it was the same as Rotten Tower in quality.
Dude, the gameplay on Rotten Tower is actually better.
Yeah, we'll get there.
It's more playable
Yeah,
too.
we'll get there. We're just gonna allude at it for now.
I enjoyed it more.
Fair,
I
but
appreciated
I think you're also
in
kind of a
this map, I
hater
appreciated you couldn't
on
die.
some other stuff.
Oh yeah,
It's
lack
okay.
of depth for the first level in the Nexus was nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
However, it was still very punishing for
Yeah.
not doing intended strats.
Yes.
Man, that sucked, actually. You just fall and then sometimes you couldn't even SS it. Like, if you fell in the worst spots, you can just mess up that badly. And it was a little tough to tell what some of the grass was sometimes. Some jagged geometry to deal with. But very pretty, yes.
Yeah. The use of rotated emitters was a surprise to me, to get that effect of the like wisp stuff
Yeah.
particles leading you through.
I actually didn't know you could rotate emitters, but I now know thanks to their Nexus and it being everywhere in their
Is that a
Nexus.
dust mod feature? I feel like that's not in vanilla.
I don't know.
It's vanilla, but there's no way to make it happen.
Okay.
Yeah, and there are two of them for each of these too. There's one in front and one in back. I can definitely select these.
Yeah, I genuinely thought that was like a path script that was spawning particles or something like that.
There we go. Yeah, looked really good. and we got other little subtle particle effects. We have 2 different kinds of water pools. One that's kind of normal looking, as if it's lit a little more naturally, but still in the style of how everything else is lit. And then one that's a little more special. Lots of special props being shown off, combinations of props prevalent in their entire Nexus. Really where it shines. And then a Death Zone that kills you.
No sense.
I think they moved the Death Zone back. It looks like they moved it back.
Did
Nah.
you remove a checkpoint from the very end? You toggle Entities tab?
No. The
No,
checkpoint
not
is
even in that.
still
two
there at the end.
checkpoints in the map are still there.
Yeah,
And they're
it
both
kills you
right
twice.
next to the death zones.
Yeah. I don't know
was-
if he
was
changed
so prepared.
anything in particular. I know there were like some little tree things that were in front of you. They were on different layers. It was a little inconsistent. What'd you change, Jello? Geometry. Okay. That might be good. Are some trees still in front of you? I don't know if you thought that was an issue. No, that's still fine the way it is. I don't mind. But you
I
made it
never
sound like you
noticed
made
that.
mistakes.
Yeah, I couldn't see any issues.
I just didn't jump into these leaves, I guess.
Well, I mean, they're in like little groups of what's in front and what's not. And the things that don't tend to matter for gameplay are the ones that will surprise you a little bit more for that.
Two completely blue props.
Was the apple an accident? Because I didn't see any apple when I searched for one. You said it like it was a joke.
There is an apple, yes, but
Yeah,
will you find it normally? No.
it's well hidden.
It is well
Considering
hidden.
the layer transfer script, it makes it more well hidden. Layer controller, even.
I'll leave that mystery for our chat,
Everybody.
especially Skyhawk. I just like that you can't just wall climb over this, you have to jump first. This one section. And then you have to get enough height on the next section or you're gonna fall over. This part looks a little smooth though. I might be wrong though, if there were any changes. So, maybe some of the jagged geometry did get changed. Oh yeah, and we do have shadows from foreground and a background. There's just a lot of detail everywhere. Alright, it's around tower time. Talk about it, Camel. Take it away.
This map is just good. First of all, the song as you load in is incredible. And like you're immediately guided to the left. You're not going to spread dust, most likely. And the only thing that's like remotely a problem at this point in the map as you're playing through it is that dust block ceiling. But it's really not that big of a deal. The actual problematic part, if there is one, is the scroll chest.
Yeah, things do kind of fall apart when you reach that part of the level, in my opinion.
I think the scroll chest is the only actually problematic entity. Alright, I've never managed to fall all the way down here, but you can still die and respawn at the checkpoint.
Yeah, but I'm trying to dwarf.
It's a poor idea.
It is.
I think
Not even doing a
dust
setup for it.
block, the dust block ceiling thing is kind of an interesting gameplay challenge. Like you don't
I'll get the
see
free
that on
super.
line maps.
Never mind. So yeah, it's got some polish in there. The
So
gameplay
this
overall
checkpoint,
pleasant.
actually, I feel like this checkpoint should have been placed lower. That way, you were able to organically arrive at the chest rather than be spawned somewhere that you might not naturally want to go.
Right. Did any of you guys look up the game this was referencing?
Yeah, a little bit. Had a look on
Yeah, I did too.
images. I couldn't see a massive resemblance, but I appreciated the inspiration.
Yeah, it's definitely loosely based, as it says in text boxes. And it does have the character up there at the top right.
Yeah. I like the little dev commentary section over to the side too.
Was this updated at all, or just uploaded as is?
Oh, I didn't ever do that.
Am I stuck?
Yeah, that little area doesn't do anything.
Okay. I don't. Yeah, I remember this not being fully there, but I don't remember getting stuck there. So yeah, obviously doesn't stand out as much as the other ones. Unless you're Camel. But I certainly can see his point of view. He does grind some maps on Atlas every now and then. Like this.
Looks just like it.
Yeah, so expect him to have world record uncontested. Anything you guys want to say about Magma Run in particular? Then we'll go to Uki's.
Oh, there was something aesthetically about Magma Run that I thought I could say.
It not being the virtual ones is honestly a negative.
Yep.
Like Cow did help with the virtual ones, of course. So Avenger was kind of pigeonholed into this one to submit, but it's just not as pleasant.
Forest map was
So-
still stronger, I'd say.
The forest map is stronger. I wrote that as well. I
Yeah.
probably wrote it for different reasons than you, though.
It's a lot easier in the forest where you don't die.
That was one thing. Is that
That's a very big
I
thing.
think-
There are huge gaps in this map.
Wait, is that porcupine floating in midair, or is that? a
Yeah,
bug?
it has. It's not entirely loaded on the
I see.
camera this way. But like when I get to these sections, it'll load for real. You know, kinda. Kinda.
Anyway, the thing that I mentioned regarding the visual design of this is that a mountain that is a volcano that is like at risk of erupting should feel really massive, I would think. And the lack of parallaxing doesn't really do that justice in my view. It feels small when there's only this midground tile as a background, as well as the fact that there's inconsistent depth to lava pools as your depth floor. So sometimes you see spikes beneath like one tile of lava, sometimes there are no spikes beneath like 6 tiles of lava. And I think there should all be pools of lava for depth floors. I don't think we should see spikes on the ground. Visually the most CMP-esque map. I don't know about that one.
I mean, it really just doesn't have that detail, partially because of what it's supposed to be. But there's also, like, all the work had to be done elsewhere.
Yep.
Did you crash or?
No, I paused.
I see. Well, I mean, the lava pools thing
I just
could
did a lap around the
become-
volcano, and now it's kind of hard to beat. It's kind of hard to beat.
The foreground and background also being the exact same texture but in a different color just made it visually feel really
Yeah.
bland to me, unfortunately. And then
Yeah.
even some of the geometry choices within each of the tiles didn't feel like, I don't know, like it had just been retextured from putting pieces together effectively. You know, like when you're doing a ramen map and you just like do lines here and there, and then when you flesh it out, you add stuff to it. I don't think it got to that second stage too much.
In my opinion, it's hard to say that this brought down the Nexus as a whole, but it didn't do it any favors, for sure. This and introductions. They do just feel a little out of place. And they're presented to you before what feels like the real experience.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I did really appreciate certain parts of this kind of stuff, but it's just not the right thing for the competition solo map. That one in
I think
particular.
One thing that'll be really interesting, though, I think is going to be really cool, is to see how these maps are going to be apple assessed, because specific tiles appear to have apples in them.
Yep.
And this map in particular, there's other stuff going on which is going to make it probably a long one. So I kind of, yeah, I enjoyed some of the less gameplay centric stuff.
Yeah, so let me peek at an editor. Magmaron has 2 apples on top that you can get at the beginning if you want. Then I don't remember if it had any apples in any pieces in this particular one.
It does.
I know
There's 2 different
introductions
tiles with
did.
apples.
Wait, what about apples?
There's 2 tiles in the randomizers that had apples in, from what I remember, if you disable layer 20. And then there's another apple way out.
Oh, yeah, you are right. That's hidden a little too well
Yep.
for me to notice.
I
Like,
think there's a
yeah, you
similar
can look
setup
for
each
those
map.
seams, I guess. But it doesn't feel like that well crafted. Still. Hey, but it's cool it's there.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on, you would be able to apple fly over and interact with these before they show up, and then do the any %. So you actually don't need to do the gameplay itself. Possibly. It depends on if these affect anything in regards to the script when you ignore it in any %.
Oh, true.
And also the camera would be kind of rough. We'll see what Skyhawk does. He'll probably try to play it as intended and find the right seed. Finally, we have Uki's Peace of Mind, which he said he added some secrets. So this has got some new stuff in it from when we played it. I don't know if he updated anything else, but try it out. He was the final person to turn it in. So maybe he updated some stuff. In my opinion, this one was 5th place, right there with some of the positives from, say, HTT's map, and Like Ron Tower and Corrosive Temple are kind of close there too. Darn. I landed the wrong way. Secrets and apples.
There were already a few apples. Interested to see what he added.
Yeah. I'll let other people find them themselves instead of look for them too much on stream.
This fell into the very pretty stock map category.
Yeah.
In my mind, with a few like somewhat notable things, like the resized enemies, gave me a chuckle.
This was certainly in that gap between the top 4 and the rest of the levels. A little bit closer to the top 4 on average for us. But none of us put it on par with any of them, with aesthetics in mind. We kept it closer to the other maps. But it's still that middle ground. You know, it's really solid, it's really polished. It's like, it's good at everything, but it's just not that step beyond.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not really sure what else could have been done to bring it into its own like league, but everything it does really well.
I mean, when you think about things like Downpour and all these other maps that are great, they just double down on a certain style, really. Like, here's some special effects for some scripts in some of their cases. You know, they really just keep focusing on something. They just add more and more detail. I mean, it looks good. It's got its own style. But, you know, to an extent, we've also seen it before. Like, we've seen this kind of stuff before. Even though it's that polished.
Yeah. I kind of wish that more had been done with the resized enemies. The only real interaction you get is the totem tries to jump at you and fails because you super it, and the bear tries to slap you and he's got slightly longer range, but you're already past him because you're boosting.
I think the totem being resized actually has a funny thing happen to it. I'm pretty sure that it bonks its head much sooner than you expect it to, therefore it looks like it's jumping aggressively at you.
So let's peek, see how it goes. So it does bump its head, and then it's slower future times.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's certainly effective in making it a challenge immediately, which is something that is kind of left out of, say, Corrosive Temple, where they don't really pose that much of a challenge.
Yeah. In Corrosive Temple's case, the challenge comes from having to waste time dealing with spring blobs and setting yourself up for
That is correct.
getting dunked, which is a clever combination, but also not one that I enjoy.
Yeah. It's got a little of both. Well, that's all the maps. You guys want to talk about anything specific? You want to make fun of each other? Why we think certain maps are better or worse? Or anything else?
I'm just really impressed with what everyone did, and
Yeah. A lot of these are really
it would
good.
have been nice to see more submissions, but also I don't know if I could have taken it because it already took so long.
If we actually were expecting a lot of maps, I think, okay, so for the future, I do want to do something with Nexuses again. So let's say in the future, next year, there's summer map competition 2022. Let's just say it's gonna work pretty much the same way. What would we change about it? We still have a Nexus category? I think so. I don't know if I would change like how many maps should be there, if we should allow partners or anything. No one really explored partners to the full extent other than Delo and C. It seemed like, I mean, 3 of them were solo. And I don't know really how much Cow contributed, even though Avenged will be humble and say it was a lot. But, you know, it could be accurate.
The places where collaboration happened clearly upped the either amount of content or the quality of the stuff there. So I think it's a positive thing for people to have the option to experiment with if it suits them.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to keep in partners. I hope people will keep it up and they'll do it more. I feel like if there were that many more maps or anything, we'd need more judges, and I would separate judges from individual and Nexus, which we considered, but didn't really need to. And then at that point, not everybody's judging everything. Might have to give more time to judges. I don't know. I want to change the scoring system a little bit. Not sure how, but I feel like we gotta improve it somehow.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about the scoring system?
I do feel like, I don't know how to put it the right way, but it felt like it was hard to. I realized like a Nexus and the maps are all supposed to be a complete experience. It was hard to kind of give points towards the Nexus. I was like, wow, this Nexus is like super awesome, but maybe the maps were weaker. Like, I kind of maybe wanted to like be like this. I feel like this should be worth better more because the idea of having a Nexus is like having a Nexus experience. But like, I really didn't like the maps, so it like really brought it down. So I wish there was maybe more categories for like the Nexus itself, or
Yeah, I'd agree
some
with
way
that.
to like encourage more of having an experience rather than just like packaging maps together.
Yeah, I did
pretty
really want to
fast.
encourage that, and we only had 2 categories that really encompassed it, but like the only it was very limited what we got that ended up exploring it. Like I wouldn't say that like what we got wasn't an achievement or anything, but it actually could have still been considerably more interesting in terms of different kinds of gameplay and a Nexus also. For me, I don't know how I want to handle how the categories kind of blend together sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To an extent, there should be overlap, but it ends up being kind of subjective whether like something in the level like visually looks a certain way and affects the playability of the level. How is it going to affect each category? That's up to the judge. I think keeping it subjective is fine. I don't need to give you guys a rubric. That'd be kind of boring for judges in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the scoring categories were decent. Yeah.
They're certainly not bad.
Maybe, yeah, I feel like you could give potentially more. Not that it makes a whole lot of difference, but you could give more points to creativity and originality. I
Yeah.
found it quite hard to spread out my creativity and originality scores, although that may be because I was just using the upper half of the scale.
You were using the same scale, but you only limited it more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I viewed them more like bonus points that helped me, but I also didn't award anything of 5 creativity, which I felt was deserved. I don't think anything was a 5 personally.
I gave 4 maps a 5.
Hey, some
Yeah, I
people are
don't know
easy to
if
impress. That's fine.
I'm just having a good time.
We gotta have some
It's glad
judges
to
like
hear.
that. We gotta have someone that's, a hard ass.
Might be nice to have some split in what you're judging in the individual maps, perhaps, since clearly some people put more emphasis on like secrets and exploration, and others just went solely into their gameplay. And while our like comments reflect that, the scores don't necessarily. I don't know if that's super important, but it might just be a nice distinction to make.
Well, we'll have to think about it for next time. Either way.
Yeah. Anyway, had a really good time with the maps and super impressed, so congratulations to everyone, really.
Yeah, and also shoutouts to Epon for making the nexus that puts them all together. Ultimately, the tiebreaker, in my opinion. He did, in fact, know the winners, like 2 hours beforehand, only because he had to put some of the labels down.
You before most of the judges, then.
I think that doc was maybe public, so I think some people already saw it too. So
I am curious to know if anyone did know. I tried to hide it when I got access to it finally, in order to edit some of those things. But yeah, I mean, it's not in the most private Discord. But I think it was okay.
I'd be interested to hear what some of the map makers made of their competition experience too.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually got Twinkie and Epon tomorrow on the spotlight. Same time as we started
Yes.
today. You're gonna interview one right after the other, I guess. I don't know if Skyhawk specified again to me. He said some of the times we're gonna be like one and then the other. Like one afternoon, one evening for some of them, but I'm gonna double check that. I'm gonna keep that updated the best I can in the announcements post that I made. I'm looking forward to talking with everybody, honestly. If any of you judges want to join those, I'm also okay with that. We got to give you a role to join that call. Just say something at that moment, pretty much. But you can be in chat too if you don't want to talk in the interview. I'm basically just gonna pick out random details and be like, tell me about this now.
Why is this porcupine here?
But yeah, what made you think of fish this way, Epon? Twinkie, why are there no tumbleweeds?
Yeah.
There was tumbleweed sprites or props, but they just weren't moving.
Not
Why
good
did you
enough.
ditch the
Not a
horse?
10.
that's an age.
No horses.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There was a horse, but it was ditched. So sad.
No cactuses? Dude, who gave Twinkie a 10?
No context.
Really? Who gave him a 10? Really, guys?
Ricky was very persuasive.
Yeah. How much did you guys get from him? You don't have to tell me.
Our weighty clap.
You don't have to say. Yeah, you don't have to say, but how much? I got some stuff from him. I got a bunch of DMs actually. He sent me some DMs for sure.
I would please.
I don't know what's up with Mayor Miles. He wasn't even here. First he ditches town, now he ditches judging. Pretty incompetent. Let's see who else is going. I'm gonna raid. I think Zyke was streaming, right? Third place gonna do other stuff. Let's go congratulate one Zyke_SWE. Look for some stuff tomorrow, I guess. Every Sunday. You guys want to say anything before I switch over to Zyke?
Good maps that were submitted. Enjoyed playing the vast majority of them that weren't made by Dellatrix.
Especially not Jake's map.
I can't believe even in a map where you can't die, Dello still used his checkpoints wrong.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, there's a special announcement eventually. I'm gonna be DMing some people, including some map makers, but I kind of wanted to do this first, and you know, not overshadow it, I guess. You know, with something even cooler.
Look forward to it.
Even cooler.